for him and release him. And I'm not a huge numbers guy, cap cruncher guy, but I listen to the smarter people.
Yeah, you got to match the numbers.
He is a very tradable contract that actually is viewed as an asset to other teams. Chris Paul, he's an expiring. You can trade him too. So I'm saying, like, they have to try to find someone who on another team is a little disgruntled and they can get on a bargain. And we can get into who that is on the other side, Dan. But for now, we got to take a quick break. But we're not done talking about the Warriors. That's Dan Devone. I'm Jason Dumas. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-239-1749. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-239-1749. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-239-1749. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-239-1749, 800-239-1749, or biglou.com.
Visit History San Jose, the South Bay's largest outdoor history museum. Located in Kelly Park, in downtown San Jose, the museum preserves the cultural heritage of San Jose and the Santa Clara Valley, from the early Spanish colonial period up to today's Silicon Valley. Sign up for the History Park Walking Tour, Wednesdays and Fridays, featuring a historical and architectural look at each building, or just picnic with the kids. There is something for everyone at History San Jose. For more information, please visit historysanjose.org.
Are you looking for a rewarding career and opportunity to serve your community? The Alameda County Sheriff's Office is now hiring for both sworn and non-sworn positions. Alameda County Sheriff's Office has excellent opportunities for career advancement, competitive benefits, and for all new deputy sheriffs, hiring bonuses between $10,000 and $15,000. Don't wait to start making a difference in your community. Apply today at joinacso.com. That's joinacso.com.
Hey, it's your boy Guru. Every time we put a rat on the table during our show, it's brought to you by Atco Pest Control. Atco Pest Control is a family-owned local business proud to provide pest control in the Bay Area for over 35 years. Atco uses natural methods to give you a peace of mind and keep your family out of harm's way. Quality pest control doesn't have to empty your savings either. Don't wait. Go to atcopestcontrol.com for all your pest control needs. They got you covered.
UCSF Sports Medicine Center is dedicated to treating every type of athlete, from kids to adults, amateurs to elite professionals. As one of the best orthopedic programs in the nation, UCSF has programs to optimize an athlete's performance and the latest advancements to treat the most complex sports injuries. With locations throughout the Bay Area, now including Marin, Walnut Creek, and Redwood Shores, it's even easier to make an appointment today. Visit ucsfhealth.org so you can get cleared to play. UCSF Health, redefining possible.
Looking for a deck? Shop at Big Creek Lumber. Big Creek Lumber has decking specials from now until June 15th. Big Creek Lumber offers competitive pricing, home delivery, knowledgeable sales teams, special orders of any decking, and will beat any competitor's pricing. That's correct. They will beat any competitor's pricing. Decking specials include Conhart Redwood decking at $2.99 a linear foot. Shop now for premium redwood decking that is sustainably harvested by Big Creek Lumber and offers quality that is beyond compare. Purchase Conhart Redwood decking on special for only $2.99 a linear foot. Want a TimberTech deck? Save 25% off your TimberTech decking plus an extra 20% off a TimberTech railing purchase. Shopping for a Trex deck? Get a free bucket of Trex Hideaway hidden fasteners with every deck order 500 square feet or larger, retail value of $310. Shop how you want with these specials from now until June 15th at Big Creek Lumber. Shop in person at Big Creek Lumber in Vallejo at 4310 Sonoma Boulevard or Coastside and Half Moon Bay on 111 Main Street today on their new mobile app or online at bigcreeklumber.com.
The Prophetic Matrix. Unlock the secret code to your destiny. A new revolutionary book by Michael John Toste. The first ebook to make history by being filmed in space. Discover your unlimited future. Get The Prophetic Matrix now on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile,
and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time. There's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Don't miss our Odyssey conversation about the state of San Francisco. Hear from Larry Baer, Brandon Schneider, Tanis Crosby from the San Francisco Marin Food Bank, and more. Download or listen to it at 957thegame.com. Made possible by our sponsor, the Mark Hopkins Hotel.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
Orlando's offering me 30. All I've done for you guys, you're not going to match that? I'm gone.
Now back to 95.7 The Game.
Welcome back. Dan Devone, Jason Dumas. As you can hear, we are talking Warriors. Klay Thompson. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? I think both parties are better off together. Dan, not so sure what he thinks about that situation. Let's get right back into it. Wow, someone just came. Retires and Jason Dumas comes in. Is that like Barry Bonds retiring and Michael Conforto coming in?
Shot fired. Shot fired.
Hey, whatever. I guess so. Klay Thompson. Will he stay for less?
That's up to Klay. Because I'm not even giving him the 24. Again, I'm saying, my man, if you want to come back and play. Well, first of all, if I'm the GM, in all seriousness, I have to think long and hard as to whether I want to offer him a deal. I know that sounds pretty harsh, but again, they're going to
offer him a deal.
No, they will. They have to. But somebody has to fire that first shot across the bow and get rid of one of these boys. And I know you still believe in the core and potentially being a relevant basketball team again. Well, let me ask you this. When you say you believe in the core, meaning Draymond, Steph, and Klay, are you saying that they can get back into the playoffs? Because we got to take baby steps here, all right? Are you talking about NBA championship?
No, I think they can win a championship with those 3 on the roster. I do. I just don't think the latter 2, Draymond and Klay, can have as big of a role on a championship team. But if I'm Mike Dunleavy and Joe Lacob, those 3 are the fabric of our identity. We have to try to keep them on the roster. Now, we can manage a roster with them on it and just get better players around them, for sure. But that would be my goal. Now, if a deal comes around where I might have to move off one of the latter 2 to make my team better, of course I would do it because my job is to make the team better. But my goal would be to keep those 3 on my roster. There's just something about continuity. There is something about, and I know sports aren't all Disney movies, but keeping those guys on my team for the duration of their career would mean something to me, given our history. But trust me, I'm not jaded. I do not think the Warriors can win another championship if Draymond and Klay, in some order, are the second and third best player on the team. Those days are over. But I do think they can have a role on championship teams. Klay and Dre both do certain things still at a high level. Klay is going to be able to shoot the ball at a high level until he no longer has a pulse. Draymond Green is going to be the heartbeat of your team and is going to play high-level, high IQ basketball until he no longer has a pulse. But it's almost like, look at the Spurs. Tim Duncan, by the end of it, Tim Duncan was probably their third or fourth best player. He still had a role on that team, though. That's what I think can happen with Draymond and Clay.
But who's the Kawhi Leonard?
That's the thing. You got to try to find another star. Steph can still play. Steph can still be the first or second best player on a championship team, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
You just got to find him a sidekick while also hoping to retain Clay and Dre. So for the Spurs, like by the end of it, Tony Parker and Kawhi ran that show. And then you had Manu. But like by the end, Tim Duncan was not their first or second best player.
Young Danny Green.
Right. You just got to bring in some guys or a guy. I think you need to bring in one other guy. And you got to move some of the just other guys on the roster. I'm done with the Chris Paul experiment. He was the consummate pro. Did everything he was asked of. I'd move off that situation. Steve Kerr said he hopes he coaches him again this year. That's what he said after that loss to Sacramento. I don't know if that's just coach's talk. Like, what are you going to say? Yeah, thanks, Chris. See you later. Who knows if he meant it, but sounded like he meant it. I would move off that. I would move off of Andrew Wiggins. I would try to trade Jonathan Kuminga, not because I don't like that talent or him as a player. I love Kuminga. I actually think Kuminga would be better off somewhere else either. I actually think for both parties, it would be better off if Kuminga played somewhere else. Just the stages of the careers, I just think Kuminga should go somewhere else. And then, I'm kind of done with the Looney experiment too. I don't want to call it an experiment. It's not an experiment. He's been here for years and he's won championships. And when his career is over, 5 years after that career, he will probably be honored in some shape or form by the Warriors. But I do think they should move off that situation too. They just have too many players who need to play, but they don't move the bar enough. Too many. When you have it's almost like when people say we have two quarterbacks. No, you don't. You don't have any quarterbacks. Warriors are we have such a deep team. Not really. You just have a lot of guys who weren't playing time, but they're role players. You need to get another star.
They have a good bench. A good bench goes along with a good starting unit, which they don't have.
Their bench is as good as their starters. That's a problem. You know what I mean? That's kind of the point I'm trying to make. Yeah, they have a great bench. 3-4 guys on the bench could start on the team and there wouldn't be a drop-off. They're the same. You need guys. They have one guy on the roster.
Who is going to be 36 years old.
Exactly. That's not an insult to Draymond or Clay. They're not guys anymore. They're good players. They can be great role players. But they're not leading horses on a championship team. Steph is. Those other two aren't anymore. That's just the reality. So if you can find guys who can complement Draymond, complement Steph Curry, complement Klay Thompson, they'll be in a good spot. And there's guys out there. You brought up Kevin Durant. Now, I don't know. That's more of a juicy fan rumor. I haven't heard anything of substance that would indicate that could happen. Or why would Kevin Durant want to come back here? Why would he want to come back here? He's never going to acknowledge it. And I know Warriors fans hate hearing this because they live in their bubble and it worked for them. But Kevin Durant felt the wrath when he came here.
Yeah.
He felt it. People don't like to hear that here in the Bay Area. If you go outside the Bay Area, most people didn't respect that move. He went to a team that just beat his team that had come back from 3-1. A lot of people did not like that. Kevin Durant will not acknowledge that publicly, but it affected him. Even when they were winning championships, it still affected him.
He's another guy like Clay, very sensitive.
Very sensitive. He had a whole burner. He had a whole burner Twitter. People forget about that, and it kind of gotten swept under the rug, and KD kind of acknowledged it and makes fun of himself for it, but he's just playing it off. That just shows how insecure he was. He was literally arguing with teenagers behind a burner account. He is very sensitive. He is. He's very sensitive. And I just do not think Can I just interrupt for a second? He left for a reason. He didn't want to be here anymore.
Part of me appreciates that because that's just who he is. He's a baller. He's probably like the same guys you run with down. Where are you playing now? Down in the Mission?
Yeah.
That's where he's just like, you go after me, I go after you. He can't think above that. He's just very simplistic. Like basketball is literally his world. Not married, didn't have kids. That's it. I can sort of appreciate that in a weird sense. Go ahead.
No, he loves hoops. But my thing is this. I don't see why Kevin Durant would want to come back here.
Not only that, I don't think that Matt Ishbia, the owner, is done with that three. He's that demented and that delusional.
Because moving off one of them would be him
an admission to guilt.
Yeah. And he doesn't seem like that type.
Yeah,
let's just put it that way. He seems like Mr. I'm smarter than everyone in the room and I'm always right. That's what I get from just hearing him talk.
He's going to try and run it back with Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant.
Based on how much money he's made in the NBA, I think Bradley Beal might be the most overrated player in NBA history.
And one of the worst contracts because they can't move.
Just based on what he's made.
Yeah.
Not, he hasn't, no one ever says like Bradley Beal is the GOAT and is one of the best ever. So I'm not saying that. But if we're talking purely contract numbers, he might be the most overrated player in the history of basketball.
And it's another example of how you cannot just simply try and put together or buy yourself a championship. Like going out and saying, oh, Bradley Beal, yeah, let's bring him in. And Kevin Durant, great player. Let's to go along with Devin Booker. Now, these things, there's a reason why OKC and Minnesota, the top of the Western Conference, as well as the Denver Nuggets, just look at their core. Just look at the way they did it. All those boys came up through their system. All of them were drafted, right? Aside from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who came over in that trade from the Clippers. But those are teams that did it like that of the Golden State Warriors. I mean, the Warriors basically drafted their talent and essentially provided the foundation for those championships. Trying to purchase or put together a title, that's someone like Matt Ishbia, who's made his money elsewhere, comes into the NBA and tries to apply a business sense. Well, let me get X, Y, and Z, and then I'll be a winner. Right now, there's more nuance to it. So I'm not a fan, getting back to Kevin Durant, and I've said this on multiple occasions of him coming to the Warriors. I know he put up ridiculous numbers last year, but again, there are subtleties about this sport that when you're old, man. And while you may be able to score and you may be able to fill out a stat sheet, when you're an older basketball team, you're not good transitionally. You're not good in rotations. You're just not getting to the same spot, and you get exploited because of the fact that you were an older team and you're no longer the same athlete that you once were. And that's what's happened to the Golden State Warriors. And that's what's happening in terms of the landscape of the NBA. Just turn on your TV, watch any playoff game. It's all young bucks, man.
I think Dan needs to read the Age Discrimination in Employment Act of 1967. I just looked it up. He does not like the old heads. Look, from the basketball...
I'm an old head, man. I make way for the young bucks like you, a young up-and-coming sportscaster. My days are done on TV. It's a young man's world. It's right. Every facet.
Right. So, look, from a basketball point of view, I think it would be seamless fit bringing in Kevin Durant. I just don't see why he would want to come here. He left for a reason. He didn't want to be here anymore. And I think this might be a hot take and people might take this the wrong way. I think deep down he regrets coming here in the first place. Because
I've heard that. It'd been better off if they never met, meaning the Warriors and
he won 2 finals, won 2 finals MVPs. But a lot of people, the way they look at that, they just don't really respect it that much. The decks got stacked. And I know Warriors fans hate to hear that, and they think that everybody would love. But look, that was an unpopular move outside of the Bay Area. Not many people respected it. That is just a fact. Yes, he won 2 finals MVPs. Yes, he won 2 championships. But people looked at him like a chump. They're like, bro, you're going to flee your team for the one that just beat you in the fashion they beat you? In that fashion at that? Come on, man. Not many people respected that. People here live in a bubble when it comes to that. I get flack for that all the time when I point it out on Twitter. KD knows it deep down. He's not going to acknowledge it publicly. He's going to act like it doesn't bother him. It does. Nobody really respected his move to the Golden State. They didn't. Now, I'm not faulting Golden State. They should have gotten him.
Yeah.
Like, the idea is to win. So don't get this misconstrued. I'm not criticizing the Warriors. You try to bring in the best players you can every time you can do it. They made the right move.
Yeah.
But on the outside world, outside of the Bay Area, most people did not respect
they vilified him. Yeah.
Yeah, and KD knows it. He's not going to acknowledge it publicly because he has a lot of pride. But deep down, that hurt him. It did.
You know what I would say? Because I never had an issue with it. From the outside, that perspective that you're talking about.
I did. I'm not going to lie. I did. I
know a
judged
lot
him.
of people
Yeah,
did.
I judged him for that.
If
He could have chose any team, but the Warriors, they just beat you.
Well, you know what? If I'm KD, I would have shot straight and just said, listen, the reason why I'm leaving is because, again, this gets back to the quality of life.
Mind you, I didn't mind him leaving. I where he chose to go is what I had an issue with. But if you want to leave OKC and that maniac Russell Westbrook, have at it. I can see why you were tired of him. Yeah. I can see it. But you don't choose the team that just beat you. Not Kevin Durant. You're one of the best players of all time, bro. We hold you to a kind of a different standard. You go somewhere, carve your own path. You don't go to the team that just beat you. You're too talented for that, bro.
You're right. It was the Westbrook, as just like that. I think the reason he left for the Warriors didn't go any farther than Draymond Green got in my face. I know there's some extenuating circumstances, but like, I don't want to roll with that guy anymore. I'm out of town. But him coming to the Golden State Warriors, it gets back to why I think Klay Thompson will come back to the Warriors, in that he wants its quality of life factors into things. And I don't fault him. And if I was KD, I would have just simply said, my man, I'm a young dude. I got all the money in the world. I want to go to the highest bidder. Not only that, I'm from D.C. I'm a big city guy. I do not want to roll in Oklahoma City. Okay? There's a reason why these are flyover states. Now, I'm not begrudging these places. It's true. Okay? People and athletes want to play in big coastal cities.
I would never want to play in Oklahoma City. I hate Oklahoma.
Well, there you go. So if I'm KD, I'm like, first of all, I don't want to live here. I want to go somewhere else. And he's got this partner, Rich Kleiman. It's his partner. It's his, yeah. Rich. So Rich Kleiman
his
is
agent,
his
partner,
agent, exactly.
Partner.
So they're very business minded. Like, these guys invest. Rich Kleiman knows what's up, and he is very involved when it comes to venture capitalism and what's going on as far as making money off the court, which he does a good job with that. Of multiple investments involving one Kevin Durant. Well, what's a more fertile place to do that, as well as make money, as well as win a title? It's the San Francisco Bay Area. I don't think it's any different than you and I. If you decide to go back to Philadelphia, wherever your next move is, a lot of this is just quality of life. Like, I just don't want to live in Oklahoma. And if I can go to the Bay Area as well as make more money.
Though. You're a hooper, Kev. You're thinking about your business investments, bro. You're a hooper, man. They just beat you. You want to go somewhere else to try to beat them? Have at it. You don't join them. That's just from a competitor standpoint. And look, he's not a businessman. He's a basketball player. You can be a businessman on the side, but you got to root your actions in basketball. And I believe you. Like, yeah, maybe Rich Kleiman was like, you know how much money we can make out here, investments, blah, blah, blah. Well, that was your first mistake. You have a non-hooper making your basketball decisions. That's what a nerd would do. A hooper would be like, I'm not joining them. Yeah, you listen to Rich Kleiman. He's a nerd. He like you said, he's a finance guy. Smart, business acumen out the roof, rich, but that's not a hooper move.
Think about KD early on in his career. He was a guy that was synonymous not only with MVPs, but with championships, Western Conference Finals, even with OKC. And now in the latter part, you talk about just being another guy. There's a lot of dudes, JM, who can give you 27 points that play in the NBA or who played in the NBA. That's going to be his legacy. That's the way he's going out. He went from this guy that was MVP, championship synonymous, going to NBA titles, and now it's just suddenly a vagabond, a mercenary that's just going from team to team and leapfrogging and giving you 27 points. Yeah, he can ball. But his stature, his legacy, when you think about his first 6 to 8 years in his career to where it's at right now, I mean, you're talking about two completely different worlds.
He's had a lot of brutal injuries, though. You can tell they've affected him a little. But look,
no, he can still go. Yeah. It's not the injuries, it's his decision making. Like his decision, like, hey, I think I'll hitch my wagon to Kyrie Irving. Not the Kyrie Irving who's behaving now in Dallas, the lunatic Kyrie Irving. Like, listen, I just got back from New York last night, man. Nobody goes to Brooklyn, and New York wanted him, right? New York was like, come play for us. Be our Jalen Brunson. They're begging for the dude. Nah, we're going to go to Brooklyn.
So I'm not going to fault him so much for the Brooklyn move. I actually, like, if you remember, Dan, he is maybe a centimeter away from going to the NBA Finals and knocking the Bucks out. His foot was on the line on that three-pointer. And it tied the game, and he was dragging an injured Kyrie and injured Harden.
I don't think Kyrie was playing. I don't think Harden even played in those last two games.
I can't remember.
I don't think Harden was available.
Court. One of them was on the court. I think Kyrie was on the court, but
Harden wasn't good. Harden wasn't even. It
was two of the three, but one of them was so hampered. It was KD dragging them. And honestly, I had more respect than I've ever had in my life for KD after that series against the Bucks. He almost beat the Bucks single-handedly, and he should have. His toe was on the line. They might win an NBA championship.
I would take that a step further. I think that's the best I've ever seen him, because at Golden State, you could say, well, you've got all these complementary pieces. That series against the Bucks, that was him saying, jump on my back. I'm one of the best. I will take you to where you want to go. He's never done that before.
I'll go on a limb, and obviously I'd have to look at the numbers, but after seeing that series against the Bucks, I think I was on to Kevin Durant's the best player in the world right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of people that would disagree with you.
He was phenomenal. Like they lost and they didn't get past the Bucks, but with all the context,
and this is post Achilles.
Oh yeah, with all the context involved, I respected the hell out of him after that series. I respect the hell out of him now. I just think, his move to Golden State, I think this is a chump move. I mean, I think most people would say that outside of the Bay Area.
Yeah. I think the one issue I have with him, and I like KD, I have no issue with the guy trying to improve his status in life or wanting to go. God bless you. I mean, you made some idiotic decisions, but I don't judge a person for trying to improve themselves. The one issue I have, though, is running these coaches. Saying, Steve Nash, you got to go. Now Vogel. It was Vogel's fault. Right. Yeah. Come on, man.
Oh, I mean, the roster construction was terrible. I mean, they didn't have a point guard. They had no bench. It wasn't Vogel's fault. They just brought in three players, one of whom has never played in any meaningful basketball game. He was often injured, and you just rolled the ball out on the floor essentially and said, all right, come on, let's go. Teams rarely win like that.
You know who the one reason that potentially, and I just thought of this, because you're right, if you're KD, let's just say, for the sake of conversation, that he's entertaining going, that Matt Ishbia is going to, he's demanding a trade, and Matt Ishbia says, okay, I'll trade you. Maybe the one area where he says, I'll entertain the Golden State Warriors, because we're talking about coaching. I mean, think about it. He's been through Jock Vaughn. Mm-hmm. He's been through Monty Williams. He's been through Vogel. He's been through Steve Nash. He got Nash. He said, I'm not playing unless Nash, I'll come back, but get rid of Nash.
He did the same thing with Vogel.
But the one coach where he won and understood the culture, and he may not have got along with Draymond and some other players, but it was Steve Kerr. So if there's one area that maybe he's like, okay, I've had one adult in the room.
He was just so perfect for Steve Kerr's offense. This motion read offense that they run.
And they'll be together again in the Olympics. So,
oh, yeah. I mean, that's true. I mean, if Steph and Steve are smart, which they're both really smart, they'll be out there recruiting because they need another guy. They need another guy. They want to be relevant again.
It was KD 7 years ago when they all went to the Hamptons. It ain't this version of KD.
I absolutely think they could win a championship if KD came back. I don't think it's going to happen. Like I said, I don't see why he would want to come back. I think he deep down regrets coming here in the first place.
Did you see, we can continue this on the other side, but you watch hoops. You watch hoops, I would say, more than anybody in the city in terms of knowing the NBA and what's going on in terms of a media figure. But when I watch Kevin Durant, I know I saw the stats, but he's not the same player. Not the same guy even KD? In Brooklyn that you talked about, right? That we just extolled. He's gotten older, and that's my problem, man. It's like it's the age thing. And it's not that you can't score, but it's about all the other things. And that's the problem with the Warriors. Again, I point at the NBA. Just look at what's taking place. And the kids are saying, old men, get the hell out of here. It's our world now. And KD just makes you older.
We got the juices flowing on this Warriors conversation. Austin of San Jose, don't go anywhere. We're going to get to you on the other side of the break. We're not done talking Warriors. That's Dan Devone. I'm Jason Dumas, 95.7 The Game.
The good folks at Wendy's have a revolutionary new product for you. Introducing the new Orange Dreamsicle Frosty. It's like a time machine that takes you all the way back to...
It's not the Hamptons. It's not 2016 and 2017, okay? Obama's not president anymore.
Now back to 95.7 The Game.
There's Dan discriminating against the old heads. I'm Jason Dumas. That's Dan Devone back here on 95.7 The Game. And our call lines are lit up. My Twitter notifications are buzzing. The Warriors discourse always gets the blood boiling for some people. Man, oh man. Breathe easy, y'all. Breathe
KD,
easy.
man. He still likes that match.
Oh, KD and Clay. I got people calling me dumb about KD, about Clay on Twitter. We'll get to all that in a second. We'll address some of them. But first, let's go out to Steve in San Jose. He has an idea on what the Dubs should do in the offseason. Steve, what's up, brother?
Hey, guys. How's your Saturday morning going?
Good, man. What you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I hear the discussion, great discussion, by the way, about, Warriors needing a second star, about, this is not good enough. And, frankly, I think even if you do bring in a second star, the question I ask is that are you really beating Denver? Are you really beating Minnesota? Are you really beating OKC? Right. And this year's playoffs has sort of been a reckoning. You guys have mentioned it, that the league is getting younger. And as the younger players start to get more playoff experience in these playoffs, it's going to be even tougher for the Warriors to climb that hill. And so, like, my thing is that if I were the owner, Joe Lacob, and Joe Lacob has mentioned this on several occasions, that they need to focus on getting under the tax. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Joe Lacob apologist or anything like that. I just think that from a practicality standpoint and how the CBA is structured, you need to get under the tax this year, because that will set you up to go over the tax in following years if the team is in position to get better, and you need that flexibility. And so. You guys mentioned Clay earlier in the show. I think 20 to 25 million being the max is what I would give for Clay. But if he gets a contract offer over that, I would probably say goodbye. I would focus getting under the second apron and the first apron, and then try to sign somebody at the mid-level to where you can actually build a competitive team with a structured rotation. Like a guy like Malik Monk comes to mind, trading for a guy like Jeremy Grant who could help Draymond Green on the front end, and just be a competitive team. This year the Warriors weren't even competitive. They were the 10th seed. And so really, like, I'm looking at how can we get to the 6th and 5th seed this year and just, get into playoffs and get into dance. I'm grateful for the 4 championships. I'm grateful for the dynasty. I just want to see, Steph and Draymond and Clay, if he wants to be a part of it. I want to see them go out on the right note, right, which is a competitive playoff team that is playing into April and May, if not June. So that's my take on it. It's probably measured, but yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Thanks for the call, Steve. Here's where I disagree on that. First, that's essentially punting away the rest of Steph Curry's prime. You're telling him we just want to be competitive. We're not going to go after another star. And we're just going to be satisfied with getting under the second apron, which isn't like, I get it. Like, I get you can't be this expensive of a team and be the 10 seed. It just can't be that inefficient with your money. I understand that, but you also got to look Steph Curry in the eye and be like, and tell him we're trying to win games while we still have your prime. And the whole thing, if the Warriors weren't that competitive because they were the 10 seed and like at least get to a 5-6 seed, the 5th seed was like 4 games better than the Warriors. 10 through 5 was pretty jumbled up. So the Warriors weren't far from that. If Draymond Green doesn't hit the guy in Phoenix, the big guy, whatever his name, Nurkic, if he doesn't hit them, Warriors are probably like a 5 or 6 seed. So I'm not going to sit here and think the Warriors were that far off from the 4th or 5th seed this year. They really weren't. Now, did they get that seed? Of course not. They didn't. But none of those teams, Denver, OKC, and Minnesota, higher than everybody. But once you go to 4 through 10, there wasn't that much separation between the teams. There really wasn't.
I would agree with you. And I would say even the top three that you just mentioned, OKC, Minnesota, and Denver, if you looked at the games they played against the Warriors this year, you wouldn't walk away saying, wow, those three teams are clearly better than Golden State.
Especially Oklahoma City. Two of those games.
Showed Holmgren at the buzzer twice.
Two buzzer beaters.
Yeah.
Two buzzer beaters over. And now, look.
Joker went half court to win one of those.
Exactly. I'm not advocating for the Warriors to run it back. Like, just run it back. There are a couple tough breaks away from being like the 4th seed. I'm not delusional. Obviously, there's a ceiling on this team. But let's not get carried away like the Warriors were that much different than the Clippers this year. They really weren't. The separation wasn't much.
Yeah, well, I would agree with that. I would agree with the caller's point that we all need to recognize what's happening again. I know I sound like a broken record. What's happening in the NBA in the postseason. To me, this is very emblematic of a changing of the guard. That it's not accidental that Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Paul George, Steph Curry are not in the postseason currently. That it's all about these younger players that are going to be or looking to supplant and become the next Steph, to become the next Kevin Durant. You're looking at the stars of tomorrow. That I do, Jason, think is very legitimate. And that is pause for concern. Well, yes, the Warriors are not far away, but what's happening right now is that with every game, with every season, and especially with the experience of going to the postseason, OKC is getting better. Minnesota's getting better. This experience only makes them better and harder to beat next year. The Golden State Warriors, you tack on another year to Steph and Draymond and Clay, that just makes you one step closer to your grave. You ain't getting better. So there is this imbalance that I think that the Warriors have to seriously take a look at that roster and think about what's unfolding currently in the NBA and the postseason. And it's not only the teams in front of them. I would keep an eye on the rearview mirror because Houston's also getting better. And San Antonio, with that Wembanyama, he's a player or two away from being relevant. So it's not only the teams
they need to get him
a
point guard.
Well, they need to
I can't believe they went this whole season with his point guard being Trey Jones. That's malpractice. Young guys get better when they're around good point guards. You don't have to, they were the ones who should have traded for Chris Paul, to be honest with you.
Well, part of the problem with them also, and I know this is against popular belief, but it's not only players that get old. I just believe this world, when it comes to sports, it's a young man's world. But I also think coaches sort of live in yesteryear. And that's true to me to a certain degree when it comes to Pops. And yes, I'm sorry, I'm going after Steve Kerr, that he's also a little out of touch. That it's not only the young players, but it's young coaches to a certain degree that look to do it a different way. I know Spo's up there in years, but it's also not only the players, but it's the coaches that sometimes we give a pass because, it's Popovich. Well, I don't know Popovich is necessarily the right guy for a young player like that of Victor Wembanyama in terms of surrounding him with the right guys. I know that's blasphemous, but it's just something to take into consideration.
Hey, you're not going to get me praising Popovich here on this line, but...
Wait, why do you hate Oklahoma, by the way?
Don't like that place. Had a bad experience. I was driving across country. When was this? I was driving from North Dakota to Louisiana. My first on-air gig was in Bismarck.
That's your first mistake.
Bismarck, North Dakota. Hey, you know the business. You take what you can get. I was young, right out of school. I was the weekend sports anchor at NBC in Bismarck. And my next job was at NBC in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So I drove from Bismarck.
LSU?
Yeah, covered LSU. So I drove from North Dakota to Louisiana. One of the states I drove through is Oklahoma. It's summer. It's probably like July. I get pulled over by a state trooper or a local police officer. I forget exactly what his title was.
I'm going to stop you right there. That's your first mistake, man. You're darker than me. There's no way in hell I'm driving to Oklahoma.
How the hell am I going to get to Louisiana? What do you think? I was going to teleport past that state? I had to drive there. So I get pulled over. The guy tells me I was speeding in a school zone. It's July. There's no school. Whatever. Give me the ticket. He makes me get out of the car. He runs my plates. He has me sitting on the sidewalk for about 45 minutes, dead of heat. Gives me this ticket for speeding in a school zone, which I still don't understand how I could be speeding in a school zone when it's July and school's not in session. The lights aren't lit up. And So whatever, I'm like, whatever, give me my ticket. I'm on my way. Never coming back to this hellhole anyway. Few weeks later, I get a letter in the mail. It goes to my address in Pennsylvania. Obviously, I'm in Louisiana at this point. And they are charging me, apparently my traffic ticket in Oklahoma is a misdemeanor, and I have to come to court in Oklahoma to fight it. I called them and told them straight up, I'm not coming to court. You can charge me with whatever. You will not see me in court. You want to issue a warrant for my arrest in Oklahoma? Go ahead. You'll have to fly down to Louisiana and get me. I am not coming. Eventually, they got the point, argued it down to a traffic summons, paid my ticket, and went. But I told myself from then on out, I ain't going back to Oklahoma.
Those stories are real, man.
Unless I have to go there for work. Now, guarantee, if I have to go cover an Oklahoma City game or whatever, of course, I'll be there. But you won't catch me in that state unless I'm being paid.
No, those stories are real. You hear about this stuff, but it's the real deal. I don't listen. There's a reason. I know this sounds really elitist, but there's a reason why I fly over Florida and Texas and Oklahoma, and I don't mess with that, man.
Yeah, I'm good.
That's real deal.
Anyway, we've been yapping long enough. Let's go to Austin in San Jose. Austin, appreciate
where you been?
Patience, brother. How are you, man?
What's up, Jason? What's up, Dan? What's up? How you guys doing, man? Enjoy always talking to you on Saturday, Dan. And Jason, it's been a while, man. Where you been at?
I know, man. Tell Matt Nahegan to call me more.
Well, let me come at. I will. Let me come after you a little bit, brother Jason. I got to defend my homie, the great Kevin Durant from D.C., and that's where I'm from. I got to defend him. I think that when I listen to the conversation about KD, it always kind of drives me crazy because what separates KD from almost everybody and most of the athletes, he doesn't give a damn what anybody thinks. Even though people think, okay, he did get a little twisted with what people were saying, but I think his persona is like, look, I do what I want. I don't listen to people telling me what I should do. He did what he thought he should do, and his reasons are his reasons. But all this sort of people saying, hey, it was a chump move and all that stuff. To me, that's all like media guys coming after a guy that's professional, does what he does at the highest level. Why is he being judged? And I'll say this, I'm from D.C., and I've had this conversation with people in D.C. It had more to do about the Warriors than it had to do with KD because the people were just tired of the Warriors. They were sick of the Warriors winning. They didn't like the Warriors team, the way they were built with Steph and Clay, and the persona of the Warriors was the anti kind of NBA image of you got to have the Mandingo on the team to really be good, a la like LeBron James. So that I don't want to go too deep, but that's kind of where I'm going with that. And then the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, Jason, was this whole Klay Thompson thing. Dude, how can you say they should bring back Klay Thompson? Keep the three together. That's $100 million. I mean, how are you going to get better if you got three guys that are aging, aren't going to get better, and you're paying them $100 million? Who's coming here? Who's coming here to play with these guys? So I just want to push back a little bit on some of the things I've heard. I hope I didn't get too far afield, but I'll keep listening, guys. Thanks.
No, you're good, Alston. And hey, look, you're a DMV guy just like KD. I get you're going to defend him, but I genuinely think that narrative was way more than just a media narrative. I think that narrative has some legitimacy. I think people genuinely looked at him a little side-eyed for going to the team that just beat him, that came back down from 3-1 to beat him, and then all of a sudden he is a member of that team, 6 weeks later? I definitely think regular old Joes, the media, coaches, all looked at him a little sideways. Now, it wasn't unanimous. There's definitely people in your camp, but I do not think that was simply a media narrative. I know a lot of people who ain't on the media who considered it a chump move too. And I mean, I think if you're just being objective, you can see the reasoning why. You might not agree with it, but I don't think it's crazy to think doing what he did was went a little against the grain of being a competitor. You can't beat them, join them. That's not really a popular mindset in sports, is it, Dan?
I think Justin is strong, man. He comes strong, and he makes some really good points. And I'll defend him to a certain degree because you have to give it up to KD. he really does not give a rip what you and I think about.
I don't agree.
I know. We all
agree.
think he's sensitive to a certain degree.
He definitely is sensitive.
But when it comes to his decision-making, where it is that I'm going to go put my head down and play basketball, that he doesn't care. That if you want to talk about his basketball game, or he's no longer the same guy, or you're not the GOAT, yeah, he may get into a Twitter war. But as far as where I want to go play basketball, I don't think anybody influences that. And I think what Austin also touched on, I'm sorry, I have to agree with, that the hatred for the Golden State Warriors, if you step out of the Bay Area, is real. Steph dancing, like we all love it. I'm telling you, man, if you're anywhere else in the country, especially in the Northeast, and you're in New York, you're in D.C., you do not like those boys. And Draymond yelling and one after every bucket, like they pissed people off. It was more about, I don't know if it was more about the Warriors, but Austin makes a great point. There was built-in hatred for the Golden State Warriors, and I think Kevin Durant going there just accentuated and lit that flame, man. But I think that there was this built-in sort of dislike for, not because, listen, we always want to knock off the best, but the Warriors did it in a certain way, and I left out, Iguodala. They pissed some people off. And let's just be real. Great team. We love them in these parts, but once you get outside of the Bay Area, they're not as popular as we may perceive them as.
Oh, trust me, I know. I've only been here for about 6 years. Before that, before I interviewed with Cron, I had never stepped foot in the Bay Area. So trust me, I know the hate was real for the Golden State Warriors. It still is for a lot of people. But look, it's neither here or there. In terms of Klay coming back, yeah, I think at the right price, you should bring Klay Thompson back. I think he is a fabric of this organization, and I think in the right role, you can still win with Klay Thompson. Klay had a pretty good season last year. Now, my issue with Klay is he's too inconsistent. He's too hot and cold. Like, you need him more in the middle, steady from start to finish, instead of these waves where he's amazing for like 6 weeks.
Well, that's why he's a bench guy.
And then for another 6 weeks, it's like he can't hit the right side of the ocean. If he's more in the middle throughout, I think that would help everybody. But I can see the other side of the argument why you can't pay a premium for the type of output you would get. So I get it, but I think with those three on the team, you can still build around them to make a contender. But look, our lines, they're litting up. Let's go to Esco in Oakland. Is he next? Esco in Oakland, you're on 95.7 The Game. You know what? We're going to get to you on the other side. We're going to take a quick break. We got Joe, we got Esco, we got Robert. All you guys next. Coming up on 95.7.
We got time, don't we?
Oh, we do have time. Let's get to one of the
I think Esco was we'll put Esco on hold. Who else is on there?
We want Joe in San Jose. I'm sorry. We're all over the place. Joe in San Jose. What's up, brother?
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. So I think Warriors need to get out of this delusional mindset that we are close to winning a championship. We're not. And we don't owe anything to any of these players. We thank them for what they did. But for all of the championships they won, they made a ton of money. They are going to be Hall of Famers. They already got what they deserve, right? The franchise owes nothing to these players. The franchise owes it to the fans. And let's be real here. We're still living in the past. We keep saying, Klay is pretty close to being good and we can put it together. We can't put it together. The league has sailed way past us. Look at the food chain now, right? Still like yesterday's game, we thought Minnesota was going to just sweep Denver, and Denver bet the Lakers. Lakers just walloped the Pelicans, and Pelicans, ate the Kings, and Kings bet the Warriors. So that's how far down the food chain we are. And we're not like one or two players away. We are entire roster away from being competent in the league. So I think we should shred the team to bits. We should sell everything.
So even Steph,
go to Oklahoma City route.
Joe, even Steph, you think
even Steph?
Wow.
Absolutely, because the only argument for keeping Steph is two things. There are two things. One is loyalty, which I don't buy into because this is a sports franchise. We can't be like living in the past. Second argument is ticket sales, right? But that is too short term in thinking. So Warriors got to where they got to by investing in the future, by investing in youth. They didn't get to where they are by investing in Monte Ellis, right? So I think we need to use the same mindset. Look at all of the teams that have progressed. Denver, Minnesota, they all invested in the youth. Oklahoma City is another great example. They all invested in the youth. That is how we can progress. I think we can't keep living in the past. Even if we invest in these guys, at the most you're covered for maybe a year, maybe 2 years. Even that's going to be like a second-round playoff exit kind of ceiling. It's not going to be a championship ceiling. So if you invest in the youth, you're going to get, for 1 or 2 years, you're going to suck. But sooner or later, you're going to find a franchise player, and the excitement will come back. But we have to be willing to take the short-term hit for the long-term future.
All right, Joe, appreciate that call. He's on one end of the spectrum talking about get rid of everybody. I don't know how realistic that is or smart that is. You know,
I don't think he's that far-fetched. I mean, Steph's not going anywhere. No,
Joe shouldn't either.
Joe, put down the cocktail, man. It's early. But when it comes, I don't think Joe is that far off when he says you can't live in the past in the rearview mirror and blowing this thing up. That sort of aligns with sort of I think I'm more inclined to be in Joe's camp. The Steph thing, no. But as far as going in another direction and trying to hit reset and finding it another way to stay young so that you have the semblance of a future with younger players. Now, obviously, much easier said than done, I think is something that everybody's got to entertain.
Absolutely. But, you know, look, he mentioned a lot of teams, and outside of Denver, none of them won a championship either. So, I don't know. Steph still has a lot in the tank, and when you have a player of Steph's ilk, you got to try to go for it. And, you know, it's just maybe that does mean parting ways with Clay if Clay wants too much money. But, you know, I think they offered him 2 years, $48 million, and I think they're going to hold firm on that number. I don't think they'd go above 25. And I think teams will offer him up to 30. So Klay Thompson will have a choice and the Warriors will have a choice. And we'll see how that goes. But, you know,
getting back to Klay really quick. Don't you think, again, when we talk about his sensitivity, that, Orlando may make him the offer, but would he be the first offer? In other words, will they say, oh, we couldn't get Malik Monk. We couldn't get Paul George. Hey, Klay, are you still around? You know how he's got that pride thing. Like, it's not so much the offer, but are you the first dude we call? It's sort of interesting to keep in mind.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to have to, this sounds so negative, but I'm just going to say it. You're going to have to coddle his ego a little bit, fluff it a little bit. No doubt. Even if it's not monetary, you're going to have to be like, we can't do this without you. Yes, this is our number and we have to hold firm to it because we have to build a winner. But we don't believe we can build a winner without you. So it's going to take sacrifices for everybody. Like, that's going to be how they attack it. They can't be like, take it or leave it. Yeah. They just can't do that because Klay is a very, very proud person. And you know what? That's not a bad thing either. It's just the reality of the situation. Do we have time for another call before we go on the other end? We don't. But hey, our call lines are lit up. We got 5 people on hold.
Oh, man, we're talking too much. Let's hear from them.
People are taken to this Warriors discourse. We will come to you on the other end of the break. That's Dan Devone. I'm Jason Dumas on 95.7 The Game.
So, how's your research going?
Surprising. After I figured out the top-rated TVs in our price range, I went shopping for deals.
And who's the
I think we should shred the team to bits. We should sell everything.
Now back to 95.7 The Game.
Little Jay-Z bringing us back. We opened up talking about the Giants. Then we switched over to the Warriors, and the phone lines lit up. Jason Dumas here with Dan Devone. We're talking Warriors offseason. So many decisions to make. Can they prolong the winning here in the Bay Area? Can they get to a second chapter of winning high-level games with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson on the roster? That is the talking point. Let's get right back into the phone lines. We're with Denker in San Francisco. He thinks the Warriors need a trade for some bigs. What's up, Denker?
What's up, gentlemen? Whatever we can do. I mean, if you really look at it, I told B back in the day, probably like 4 years ago now, if Dre scores over 12 or 13, we win, right? And then that narrative ran. Everyone kind of knows that now. But that's really kind of pointing to the fact you just need bigs to be effective to open up further shooting, on top of the fact that scoring helps. And it's like, I happened to be at this event yesterday, and I don't want to name any names exactly, but let's just say he played with the Bulls. He's a Hall of Famer, and he's a big. And we were talking.
Bill Cartwright.
Might be. And I see him all the time at the same event. He's a great guy at St. Anthony's, Penny Pitch. Great event. They help feed the homeless. It's a great organization. So we're talking, and all he said was, I was like, we need bigs, man. We need you. And he said, we need many bigs. And the thing is, and it points out to not only do these teams have multiple bigs, they are active bigs. They're not just like taking up space. They're able to, like Wemby's guarding 3 guys at a time. So I would love to maybe get Bol as a free agent. Hopefully he could put on a little weight. He does have that scoring outside threat. If we get a big who could pop it out from the outside, get that. We just need other threats to take away, which I also used a long time ago, I used it with Bosa and Steph, to take some gravity away, to command some more respect for other people's game. And TJD actually, he really did help Klay out because he was smart enough and has the IQ, which Kerr loves his high IQ guys. Usually teachers love great students when you don't have to teach much, but that's another story. I just think TJD would then be a ridiculously good power forward if you had a 7-footer who could draw some attention, and then that obviously is enough interference to open up to Steph. So I just think the big man is the big goal and multiple.
Thank you, Denker. Yeah, people have been clamoring. That's not an unpopular opinion. People have been clamoring for the Warriors to get bigger bodies for a while now. Obviously, Draymond Green has essentially been their center the last 2 years, and he's capable, but you got to think just how much wear and tear can he take guarding the other team's best big man.
The Joker. When he comes to town, it's Draymond's watching him.
Yeah, I mean, even a guy like Sabonis. And it's just, it's at this point in his career, you got to wonder, can he take that? Draymond's always going to tell you, hell yeah, I can, because that's who Draymond is as a person. But you also, sometimes you got to save someone from themselves, Yeah,
and I hate going after Steve Kerr, but I think Steve Kerr has finally come to this moment. I heard him saying, yeah, we have to get bigger. And it was sort of this mea culpa. Oh, really? Because I hate to tell you that Sports Talk Radio or that the fan base or Dub Nation in taking calls, Steve, they've been asking for that for at least going on 3 years now. And so we all love Steve Kerr. I still think he's the coach for the job. But there's some, like anybody else, he's got some warts. And this idea that all of a sudden, I think we need to get bigger. Really? This idea that, you're going to go Kevon Looney and Draymond Green and try and match wits with the other bigs in the league, that to me should jump out at every casual fan, that the Golden State Warriors are trying to play a brand of basketball that was successful for them 6-7 years ago. And that is being small, play the 3-point line, and transitional basketball. That does not work in 2024. Why? Because these dudes are now in their mid-30s. Yes, it gets back to age, and the game is cyclical. and the big has returned. It's not Patrick Ewing. It's not Akeem Olajuwon playing down on the post, but the big now has a significant role. And listen, you could say, well, there's only so many Chet Holmgrens. Where am I going to find a Joel Embiid? What put Dallas over the top and really sort of push this team to the postseason and making a serious run currently? I'll tell you, yeah, Luka and Kyrie were good, but it was a guy by the name of P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford, two bigs that were out there at the trade deadline that the Warriors could have had, that really put this team into the stratosphere. And it was bigs like that the Golden State Warriors just need serviceable bigs. Yeah. Somebody that can use up 5 fouls.
Who's their best big over the run? What did you say, Bogut?
Yeah, Bogut was good. I mean, you know, you had
JaVale McGee.
You had guys that you could mix and match, but I mean, right now, Kevon Looney is it looks like he's aged 10 years over the last 6 months. And Trace Jackson-Davis is a step in the right direction, but get him some boys. Go get a front line, a legitimate front line.
You know who I love? And you were just talking about the Mavericks, Gafford.
Well, I just talked about Gafford and P.J. Washington, yeah, both of those guys.
They're good. They're good. All right. Let's go to Bobby in Oakland. He thinks the Warriors are at a crossroads.
Hey, how's it going, fellas, man? Good show.
Hey, Bobby, how you doing, man?
Good. Yeah, I see it right down the middle at the crossroads. You got to figure, okay, are we going to go through the entertainment package where you keep the big three and, you know, some of the nostalgia we have going on, or we're going to look at that basketball move of the building toward the future. Now, our big three does have some trade value. Maybe you do it this summer or next summer, but I would say come July 1st, you got your free agent signing. If you can't really net a high-level free agent, big or what have you, you got to look at building to you got 4 young guys who maybe not necessarily championship caliber, but it's a good building block caliber. And then what's going to happen this year if you come back with somewhat similar to the same team? You might struggle to make the play-in with all these other teams that are coming up. So if you're looking right down the middle, you're going to either go entertainment or you're going to look at the basketball move. And I'm saying, hey, you can't take anyone off the limits. As much as I hate to say the idea of trading Steph because he's an icon and so forth, but you got to look at everything because the future is here right now. So that's all I have to say, folks. What you guys think?
Appreciate you, Bobby. Yeah, I mean,
we're gonna start with the Steph talk.
Yeah, look, Steph's not going anywhere. It's not really productive to speak about him going anywhere. And you have your right to an opinion, of course. Nobody is saying you don't. But my personal opinion is it would be the dumbest move in the history of the organization. I'll go a step farther, in the history of Bay Area sports, to move off of Steph Curry at this juncture. Not only is he still a high-level basketball player who you can win with as your best player, from a business sense, he also just makes too much sense. Like, he puts butts in the seats. You know what I mean? He makes money. He's one of the most popular athletes in the world, not in the country, in the world. So from a basketball standpoint, from a business standpoint, from a PR standpoint, it would be a stupid move. And it's not happening, so it's just doesn't make sense to even entertain.
Yeah, you're right. When it comes to you can't quantify. What does he make, 53, 55 million a year?
Yeah, I mean,
he deserves like 500 million a year.
The Warriors, I think, are what, like the 6th most profitable organization, or worth the 6th most amount of money in the world right now. Before Steph Curry came, no one talked about the Golden State Warriors.
No, in terms of merch, when you're on the road, all that stuff. However, I will say, well, I don't agree, not there yet, the idea of Warrior fans wanting to potentially trade Steph Curry, there's a part of me that understands where it is that you're coming from, as demented as that might sound. Because if you're thinking about assets on your basketball team, really you only have 2 that I can think of. Steph Curry's not going anywhere, but if he was, that's number 1, and number 2 is Jonathan Kuminga. You're not getting much for Draymond, maybe. You get more than you would for Wiggins. Wiggins, Draymond, Kevon Looney, all of those guys packaged together are not going to bring back much. But if you're really going to rebuild or find that next championship run, then Steph Curry would be an asset. But as Jason just laid out, for varying reasons, he's not going anywhere. But the idea, it's like, I understand. Dub Nation, Warrior fans, I hear where you're coming from. It's desperate times, and if you want to start anew, your biggest asset is Steph Curry. But fortunately or unfortunately, he ain't going anywhere.
People just also have to take a step back and realize that winning championships is hard. Like, the Warriors won 4 in a decade, and they're trying to win more, obviously. Nobody is faulting this organization. Well, at least I am. I'm not. I can't speak to anybody for everybody, but Warriors are trying to make moves to stay in contention. Has every move been the right one? No, but this idea that they're going to win championships every year or come close to winning championships every year is just not realistic. Like, they have to have some grace. You got to give them some grace. Give Mike Dunleavy some time to kind of put his imprint on this team. They just won a championship 2 years ago. Like, they're not going to win a championship every year, people. Like, seriously, the sky is not falling. It's really not. They won 4 of them in 10 years. Give them some grace. I think they deserve that much. Now, does that mean sit back and not criticize them forever? No, I'm not saying that, but you just also have to have some realistic expectations. Let and see how this offseason plays out and what they do going forward. But they're not going to win a championship every year. That's just not how sports work. Simply enough. They're not super far off. Last year, there were one of 8 teams remaining. They made the second round of the playoffs. There were one of 8 teams remaining. If they had got another matchup, they matched up with the Lakers, and the Lakers ended up losing to the Nuggets. But whoever the Nuggets beat, they probably could have beat that team. Like, who knows? But my point is this. You have one of the best players in the NBA on your roster. You have a coach who has won at a high level. You have some assets. See what Mike Dunleavy does this offseason before you just crucify him, before you sit here and act like the sky is falling. That's my 2 cents. Let's go to Mike in San Rafael. He's talking about trade destination for current Warriors. What's up, Mike?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, man. How's your Saturday?
It's going well. I enjoy listening to your show. But I'm part of the Blow It Up Now fan base, and I have trade destinations for our current Warriors. And the goal is to net as many first-round draft choices as we can, but also basically provide some entertainment for the league. And I would start off with sending Draymond to the Washington Wizards. They'll probably change their name to the Washington Bullets after we do that. With Clay, I would send him to L.A., so he could, maybe get a first rounder, and then
he's a free agent. He's a free agent, though, Mike. You can't send him anywhere. He can go wherever he wants. As of now, Klay Thompson can do whatever he wants, and the Warriors have no control over it. He's not under contract.
Right. This is partly just for entertainment, so he could. He's used to coming off the bench, and we can watch him sub in for Bronny, in the second quarter.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Mike is playing franchise mode on NBA 2K. The ball's
Mike went to happy hour a little early today.
The ball is in Klay's court. Yeah, Klay has all the power. Essentially, in my opinion, this is not any sourced information. This is just strictly an opinion, an educated one, I would say, though. It's going to come down to Klay wanting to stay for less or choosing the money.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to come down to, because there's going to be a team that offers more money than the Golden State Warriors.
Listen, I think L.A. would be attractive. Now, L.A. is not going to be able to.
I can't see him in an L.A. uniform. I know he's a Kobe guy, and I know he spent a bunch of time in Los Angeles because of his father.
He's got a house down there.
Yeah, but it'd be hard. he wouldn't fit with that Lakers team right now. The Lakers are also at a crossroads. What are they going to do?
Yeah, they're a mess.
I mean, the Lakers have to figure out what LeBron's going to do before they can do anything.
Oh, so the text line. I hope you're still listening.
I know, everybody. What are you, team LeBron? You want him to come here, huh?
No. But I threw this out here. I threw this out there, and for whatever reason, it's still stuck. So I was doing a show a few weeks back, and I said, okay, Warrior fans, and they just went nuts. It was a lull moment in the show, and I said, you want to be relevant and still win a championship and keep Jonathan Kuminga and keep all the youngsters and not have to blow it up and still be in the NBA championship conversation next year? Well, this is what you do. You draft Bronny James in that second round with your 55th pick, and LeBron James comes down I-5. He said on record that the one player that he wants to play with before it's all said and done with is Steph Curry. He is good friends with one Draymond Green, respects the hell out of Steve Kerr, and it all makes sense that LeBron James now becomes plug and play, and you're off. Your thoughts?
You know, I would love for LeBron James to come to the Bay Area, just strictly as someone who covers the team. You know how entertaining that would be for my job? And I would just be fascinated to see it from a basketball perspective. Steph and LeBron on the same court. Now, do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't think there's a high chance that happens. I think ultimately LeBron stays in LA. If he were to go anywhere, though, that's when things start getting interesting. If LeBron seriously considers leaving LA, which I don't think he will, but if he considers it, I do think the Warriors have a fighting chance. It's either the Warriors or the Knicks, probably. I mean, the topic was brought up by Joe Lacob at the trade deadline. That has been reported by very, very respected journalists in this field. So I am confident to say Joe Lacob did explore LeBron James's interest in playing here. So we know the owner is up to it, is open to it. That's just a fact. We know Joe Lacob is open to it.
Yeah. When I think about LeBron James coming to the Warriors, it's just like that of Kevin Durant. It's just like that of Paul George. Again, you guys know where I stand on all of this. It's another old man. And while it's LeBron James, depending on who you are, greatest of all time, a legend, no doubt, but it's an older basketball player, and you're headed in the wrong direction as far as I'm concerned. Yes, I understand that now the basketball IQ is now through the roof with him and Draymond and Steph and company. And you can keep Clay, not Clay.
I mean, LeBron was a top 10 player last year.
He was very, very good, but he load manages throughout the course of a game. Like, he won't take games off, but he will pick his spot. That's the issue, is that we look at stats and we're like, God, these guys are still good. But LeBron James will take time off during games. He's so smart, right? Like, he'll pick his moments. Like, I'm not going hard in the second quarter. I want to save my legs so that I can close in the fourth quarter, because he still does that better than anybody. But the young Bucks, they play with their hair on fire for 42 minutes. Right. Young fellas they only know one speed. And that's where we're at with the Golden State Warriors, is that everybody's trying to measure so that, well, I got to load manage because I got to make sure that I got my fresh legs at the end of the game. Young fellas today that are playing in the NBA and in the playoffs, they're going end line to end line. They're going the full 94 feet. Look at Josh Hart. He hasn't had a day off in 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something to that. And it's really sort of nuanced when you talk about older players. And that's what one of them's okay. Draymond, if it was LeBron and you want to surround him with young fellas and have a few, or if it's Steph and a bunch of young players and you got some talent and a future, yeah, but 3 of them, 4 of them, 5 of them, doesn't happen.
Right.
It's never happened.
Dan is against the vets. All right, Rich in Fremont. What's up, brother? If the Dubs make bad decisions, it could cost them. I agree. But what decisions are you talking about specifically?
Well, I'm talking about just the last 2 seasons, and thanks for taking my call. I think really at the end of the day, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to say this, and I know there's a lot of Warrior fans out there who disagree with me, and you guys may disagree with me too. I wasn't too big on them trading James Wiseman as fast as they did. I think they should have waited on that, and the reason being is because, he was a young player. He was new. Yeah, he didn't have a lot of skill, but he had athleticism, and they expected him to come in playing like Lou Alcindor the first year he was there, which I don't think that was a smart way to think, okay? I also think that, they made a trade
or either he wasn't on a contract and he left. But I would have found a way to keep Dante DiVincenzo. This guy just lit it up last night for 35 points, and he hustled. And I get that Podziemski's a good player, but he wasn't Dante DiVincenzo, okay? I think his stock was a little higher than Podziemski. I also think that at the end of the day, this is also a situation where, Joe Lacob, at the end of the day, is a businessman, okay? He's looking to win, okay? And the idea of bringing LeBron James here, I just don't think that's a long-term answer to a short-term, problem. I think, okay, yeah, maybe in the short term, but we don't know how healthy LeBron is. And LeBron has been known in the last couple of years to get injured.
I'm going to push back just on that point. I think LeBron James has been pretty reliable for most of his career, even the last couple of years. He's available as much as any player of that ilk. I mean, you see Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, some of these other stars, they're out more than LeBron. Oh, that's it. I'm sorry. Hey, that was a great call. I appreciate you.
Wait. Before we go, I got to give you your just due, because I think one of the first shows we did is James Weissman. I don't even know if he came to the Warriors yet at that point, but he was being obviously talked about at number 2, and I remember you said, Dan, don't touch this guy.
I was never high on
James Weissman.
Never high on James Weissman. I mean, he hasn't done all that much in Detroit either. Here's the thing.
If you can't get run in Detroit, something's up.
He was getting run. He just wasn't that effective. I mean, that's all. And look, I covered him for 2 years here in the Bay Area. I enjoyed the kid. Great young kid, and I don't mean like he's a grown man, obviously. Wiseman. Yeah, he's a grown man, obviously. So when I say kid, he's just a kid compared to me. I'm probably I'm 34 years old. James Wiseman is probably like 22 years old. But I just never was in love with his game ever. And maybe he amounts to something at some point, but the Warriors were smart to cut their losses, in my opinion. And I mean, thankfully the Warriors were able to win a championship in 21, because if they weren't able to win that championship and you look back at having the number 2 pick and not being able to turn that into a player, that would be really bad. So thankfully they won a championship, so it didn't really matter.
It still does, though.
It still does. You're feeling not having that pick now, but look, after that championship, the idea was that Wiggins and Jordan Poole, those would be the 2 guys on the roster to help continue this high-level play. Jordan Poole fell off a cliff after that incident with Draymond Green. And you can fault whoever you want. That I'm not really here to get into who was at fault about that. We've talked about that ad nauseum. But the fact remains, Jordan Poole was not the same guy after that. Andrew Wiggins hasn't been the same guy since that championship either. And those were the 2 guys who were supposed to extend this window. We can get to that and more callers coming up after this break. But for now, Dan Devone, I'm Jason Dumas. You're listening to 95.7 The Game.
LeBron James. Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated
If I stood up and said, "Hey, Ev, what time's the show Saturday?" Would you be able to hear me?
Now back to 95.7 The Game.
Dan, it's been a pleasure for the last couple hours rapping with you, especially hoops.
No doubt, man.
When's the last time you
Oh, man, I'm the old guy. I get out there with 2 knee braces and a headband, man. I'm not that guy anymore.
Yeah, I hear
you. No, you know what? So I was out in New York. I thought about it, but I went out to, so there's the Cage down to the Village, and then there's Rucker Park.
Right.
Up in Harlem. And I went out to Rucker Park just to check out the game. And I thought about getting into it. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't serious. The problem is out there, you could wait all day if they don't know you.
Right.
You won't get run unless you can't just say I got next. It doesn't. They won't recognize you.
I've never been to Rucker Park.
Oh yeah, you got to check it out. Especially during the summer league.
Never been to Rucker Park.
You've seen that YouTube video of when Kevin Durant, we're talking about he's a basketball junkie, went out there one summer night.
Kev, Kobe. I feel like AI I've seen out there just on YouTube. Like I feel like if you're a hoop savant, you got to have at least one run at Rucker.
It's real deal. Yeah,
I can't play outside anymore. It
got to you.
Bad back, man.
Where's this run you got into in the Mission District? And for those that are listening, I want to know where you're playing hoop in the Mission. I never heard of it.
Let me look it up. So it's through this Squads app. You know, they just find runs for you.
Oh,
I love it. Shout out to Squads. You know, it's SQUADZ. Mission Dolores on
Mission Dolores High School. Yeah. Mission Dolores
is right down there on 16th Street.
Yeah.
I play down there when I can. Probably every other Saturday morning. I play if I'm not in here. Or something.
I played in that gym.
Yeah, it's fun. Good run out.
That's
there.
Old school Mission. Like when I think of Mission, I think of that part of Valencia, not the gentrified, like, you know, whatever's going on there now on Valencia Street, and where they got like,
it's a lot going on down there.
Everybody's got like, you know, like cafe lattes. I'm back in the day when you would go down there 2 a.m, man, and go to La Cumbre and get yourself a burrito the size of your head, man.
Right. Oh man. All right. Look, I don't want to keep these people on our phone lines waiting too much. They've been cool enough to call in and chat some hoops with us. We're going to go to Steel Toe and San Mateo. What's going on, man?
Hey, Dumas, thank you.
Yeah,
hey,
of course,
Dan, love the show. I just feel like the Warriors got to think bigger than just getting one All-Star like a Durant or LeBron. They got to do like one of the other callers said about like the Knicks that get multitude of players. Like they got Bronson, they got OG Anunoby with Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart. It's multitude of players, and that's kind of the problem with what I have with Dunleavy. I don't know if this guy can think outside of the box.
Why? Why don't you? Why don't you think he can? I'm not even necessarily saying I disagree with you. I just what has led you to that opinion? Because I don't think he's been around long enough to really have strong opinions on him yet.
Right. So that's my point. His inexperience won't give him the kind of the savvy or the imagination to think big, like what Minnesota did. They picked on the deadbeat teams and took their best player. You went to Utah and got Rudy Gobert. You got Mike Conley, and then you got Anthony Edwards. It's a multitude of players. It's like, can he think like, can I get Lauri Markkanen and possibly steal DeAndre Ayton from Portland? Or something like, make something big. Pick like 2 or 3 deadbeat teams and take their best player.
Gotcha.
Is what I like. Something like go get Delonte Murray and then Mikal Bridges and then maybe LaMelo Ball. Several, like 2 or 3 bench all-stars instead of one all-star. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. They could have had LaMelo Ball. They picked James Wiseman over him.
How do you think Ball would fit in with this team? I'm out on LaMelo Ball too. By the way, I know he's exceeded what it is that I think
he's. I think he's an extremely talented player, but he hasn't been available as of late. The injury bug has really caught up with him
and his brother.
I hope his brother has like a Sean Livingston type recovery.
I like his brother
because his brother was so good.
I like his brother,
but
more
I think
than
LaMelo's really good too. How would he have fit on the Warriors? I mean, I think he's a good basketball player, so they would have been able to make it work. I do, but if they draft LaMelo Ball, we probably don't see the emergence of Jordan Poole, who helped them win a championship. So, whatever. It is what it is. So obviously LaMelo Ball is a better player than James Wiseman. So you probably right now would way rather have a LaMelo Ball on your roster than having have had James Wiseman. But like you said, hindsight's 2020. You have LaMelo Ball. Then there's no Jordan Poole emergence. Jordan Poole helped you win a championship. So really it's whatever, splitting hairs at this point.
I think his brother's more suitable to the Warriors than LaMelo.
His brother is the type of player when healthy, kind of just like almost like Klay Thompson in the sense, like you can just fit him in anywhere because he does things that teams need. He plays defense.
Yeah, he can't shoot it like Klay, but
no. I'm just saying he's a guy who
two-way player, long, perfect, and he's got the buy-in, like the defense,
high IQ.
Where he cut his teeth was defense. LaMelo looks going back to his days in Chino High School. He's disinterested when it comes to defense.
He's disinterested in a lot. But, he's been a fine player when he's been available. Let's head out to Rich in Daly City. He has some specific moves that he thinks the Warriors should make. Rich, what's up, brother?
Hey, what's up? Good. Happy weekend, and hope you guys are doing well. So with the Warriors, I think there's a couple things that we know, right, that they have to get younger, they got to get a little longer or bigger, and then they're also good at rehabbing careers, right? So a couple of moves I would make is trade Wiggs to Orlando, who's under the cap, try to get Jonathan Isaac, who's a 6'11", 4'5", right, multi-skilled. Then you take Draymond, whose value is going to be really with a young team, trade him back to Detroit, send him home, get Jaden Ivey, maybe their number one pick, or Azar Thompson. And if we get the pick, then we get that guy Czar from France, and then that way we get bigger. We free up money.
I like it.
And then
Jay don't like it, but I like it. Keep preaching. You're preaching.
No, that makes the Warriors worse.
Oh, but then we can.
That makes the Warriors worse.
Which move?
Trading Draymond to the Pistons for Jaden Ivey and their pick. First of all, the Pistons aren't going to trade their lottery pick for Draymond Green.
But if they did, I would pull the trigger on that. And
there's no one in the lottery who's going to help the Warriors win.
It's a bad draft this year, but I'd take Jaden Ivey right now over Draymond, as ridiculous as that might sound.
Hell no.
The thing, but Draymond is 34 years of age.
Shocked you talking to me.
Draymond, come on, man. Come on.
No, I'm telling you right now, it's
Jaden Ivey. There's no disrespect to Jaden Ivey, but no, he does not move the bar. He's not that good.
If you give me I'm trying to look up their draft status this year.
I mean, they're going to get they're in the lottery. And the lottery's on Sunday, by the way. The lottery is tomorrow.
The Warriors got like a 3% chance.
3% chance to retain their pick, because if they're in the top 4, they get to keep it. If they're outside of the top 4, it goes to Portland. Brandon Pajemski will be at the draft lottery tomorrow for the Warriors. He's representing the Warriors. Brandon Pajemski. Yeah. Look, man.
What was the first move he wanted to do?
God. He wanted to trade someone to the Magic. Wiggins to the Magic for Jonathan Isaac. I would do that in a heartbeat.
Oh, that I would do.
In a heartbeat. I think you need to move on from Wiggins.
But again,
I'm not sure how well Jonathan Isaac would play in the Bay Area. You were talking about some of the Florida wackos. He's one of them. He is one of them. That's all I'll say. But I mean, look, if you produce, who cares? We're well aware of Nick Bosa's affiliations. People love him because he plays well. So, but Jonathan Isaac is not as good as Nick Bosa. So I'm not sure how much his ideologies and outlooks on society would play in the Bay Area. That is all I'll say. Look, we got one more person on the call line. He's been waiting for 25 minutes, so we appreciate you, Matt. Talk to us.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I just had an idea about a trade that we should consider. Now, we may have to take some bad contracts. That's just the way it is.
You got to give to get.
You don't give up something.
Right.
And I was thinking maybe go to the Nets and say, we'll take Ben Simmons and Bridges, and, you flip that Wiggins and maybe flip that contract for Chris Paul. I don't know, or something similar, maybe something to Portland for like that bad contract of Jeremy Grant. We may have to do something drastic to get something of value.
Thanks for the call. Hey, shoot. Look.
You can't wait 25 minutes to throw out Ben Simmons in the first sentence.
No, but that's what he meant, though. You got to take something bad if you want to get something. But in a move like that, you would have to include Kuminga, too. I don't think Brooklyn is going to trade Mikal Bridges at all. But if they did, and let's say the Warriors were a trade partner, there's no way in hell you're not including Kuminga to get him. Kuminga, Wiggins, look, I'm not a cap guru, so someone smarter than me might be on my line saying that's impossible anyway. But if you could get Mikal Bridges, hell yeah. He's another one of those guys. You just put him in anywhere, any roster, he's going to make you better.
Yeah, Warriors don't have enough assets to get him.
It would have to be picks, Kuminga, Chris Paul's expiring, maybe Wiggins. I don't know. I'm not a cap guru, like I said, so I don't know what numbers would make it work. But I have been of the opinion, and I said it earlier in the show, if I'm Mike Dunleavy, I'm making Wiggins, Kuminga, Chris Paul's contract, Kevon Looney's contract, hell, even Moody. I'm making all of them available. Hey, these guys are available in our quest to get another star player to come here. No matter how you do it, whether it's a 3-team trade, you're trading Chris Paul and Looney to this team while you're trading Wiggins to that team, and then you're trading Kuminga to this team. I don't know who that star player is, but you got to consolidate that roster. Steve has too many options of guys who just simply don't move the needle. And we're getting on throughout the season, it's like Kuminga going to start. Is Wiggins going to start? When's Moody going to play? How do you get in GP2? Pajemski? It's just too many guys. You got to get another star for Steph. The Warriors are not going to win a championship again unless you have a sidekick for Steph Curry.
Yeah, the big question is just who.
Yeah,
and whether all
I have no
of
idea.
But
that's why Mike Dunleavy is paid the big bucks.
But the assets that you just mentioned, I don't know if that's enough to go get you the star that you're talking about, especially if, to me, it's got to be a younger star. The perfect world would be if there's a Jalen Brunson out there that's playing in the shadows of a Luka Doncic that you can get, and yet suddenly he becomes the next latest greatest.
Right.
At what is now considered a cheap price. At the time, everybody in New York was blowing up WFAN, shout out Odyssey, going, what the hell did you just do?
What do you think of Anthony Simons?
I like Anthony.
Yeah.
But again, that's somebody
he's small though.
That's your mid-level exception. That's a guy that you certainly have the crosshairs on. But the caller mentioned Ben Simmons, and I just got to tell you, I was out in New York, and so they have the Met Gala. I don't know if you're familiar, Jersey Ken. You familiar with the Met Gala? It's like the who's who. It's it is A-list when it comes to fashion and actors. It's where you want to be. It's the big fashion sort of benefit that takes place in New York City. And who was there?
Ben Simmons.
He can do whatever he wants, man. He's got all the money in the world. But sometimes it's
see how he's dressed too. That's one thing.
Sometimes he should be embarrassed that he's showing up at the Met Gala and he hasn't played basketball in 2 years.
I got a lot of flack for this when I said it 3 years ago. The whole Ben Simmons saga, I was in on a lot of that reporting. He's a socialite. Ben Simmons is a young socialite. He plays basketball.
Wimbledon.
He plays basketball because it affords him a living. It's not because he loves it, which isn't that's his prerogative. I'm not going to criticize it. Everybody doesn't have to love what they do for a living. They don't. You just do it to make money. He plays basketball to make money. I don't think he's losing sleep at night because he can't get on the court. Don't think he cares all that much.
No, that's part of the problem. By the way, I just got to tell you about the Garden, and this is for Jersey Ken as well. He's rocking a New York Knicks tattoo. and the ink is fresh. But the Garden on Wednesday night was out of control for game 2. And let me just tell you that the FU Reggie chant was not just relegated to everybody at the Garden, but it was man, women, and children that were FU Reggie. And of course, I'm referring to Reggie Miller, who made his first appearance back in the Garden since he went for those 8 points in 9 seconds some 30 years ago. And I mean, I looked to my right and I saw Mary J. Blige on the floor. It's just full-throated FU Reggie. Fat Joe, man, was exalting the crowd right next to Coach T. And it didn't stop there.
I'm not feeling Fat Joe. He said something disrespectful about Joel Embiid. He should have got smacked in his face.
What he said? Well, come on, you're Philly and he's New York. What do you want?
I don't know. Have some respect.
Who's going to respect Joel Embiid from New York?
You're going to respect getting smacked across your mouth. Sometimes you got to make somebody respect you.
I'm telling you, man, that place. Oh, and you know where they went next? See, you can't appreciate any of this because you're just locked into your Philly mode right now. You know where they went next? Out of nowhere, because I understand Reggie Miller's there. Then they just went with the random when they went to a commercial break. But if you were at the stadium, they went in FU Trey, like FU Trey Young.
Yeah, I wrote a nice article on that relationship between Trae Young and the New York Knicks fan base for Bleacher Report a couple years ago. Look, I like New York fans. I really do. But like celebrities, that's why I thought it was across the line. Like a common Joe can like troll Embiid, but like celebrity to celebrity, like, come on, bro. He said something like, Joel touched my hand and it smelled like poop. And I'm like, dude, like, you're a notable figure. Like, what if Joel had turned around and smacked you? What would you have done? Nothing. Stop being a chump.
But man, that's the difference between a celebrity in New York and say a Kardashian in LA. Like to him, he is a Knick fan first. All the other crap, the rapping and all the other crap that he's gotten in life, that's after that comes secondary to him and his Knicks.
Yeah. New York this, New York that. Anyway, so look.
Come on, kid, let's do it for him. Go New York, go. Let's drown him out. Get this Philly guy out.
We don't have much time left. Let's talk. I mean, we already started. Let's talk some just NBA playoffs right now. Dan, who's your favorite moving forward? Not before the playoffs started, just from May 11th. Right now, who is your betting favorite to win it all?
Well, I think I'm going to go what's now become the odds on, and I think it's Minnesota. I have to tell you, though, again, not to piss you off and not to simply sound like, I'm a big Knicks fan. I am. But the Knicks story is really sort of fascinating.
I think that objectively it is.
Yeah, you would appreciate this as a basketball fan, that when New York is relevant because they're so divisive. People love them or they hate them.
I'm not a Knicks hater. I genuinely not. I enjoy New York fandom. It never really, I know it bugs most people nationally, but it never really bugged me. Even growing up, like New York teams, like the Giants, the Eagles beat them all the time. The Knicks, they weren't really relevant in my childhood. So I never like developed a hatred for them. I guess the team from New York I hated the most was probably the Yankees because they beat the Phillies in the World Series like in 2009, I believe that was. But I don't have I love Madison Square Garden. I don't have this hatred for New York or their sports teams. I really don't.
Well, I can tell you after just being out there, the big conversation is Coach Tibbs just burning these dudes out.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's all fun and games now. Josh Hart playing all these minutes. It might not happen now. Maybe it happens in the summer when he's working out. Like, the wear and tear is real.
Well, they think Anunoby blew a tire because of the wear and tear.
Look. Hey, it is what it is, but that usually comes back to bite people.
My response, I'm a Tibbs guy. Listen, man, when you're in your 20s, play basketball and sleep when you're dead. Sleep in the off season, man. Sleep when you're dead when you're in your 20s, all right? This idea of load management. Who do you like in the playoffs? You going Minnesota?
Yeah. I started with Denver. I thought Denver was going to win it all. Now I think oh, man. So, yeah, I think if I had to bet money on someone, I would bet Minnesota. But I'm not counting out Boston either. I'm not, especially if Minnesota So obviously Minnesota and Denver, one of them are going to knock each other out. So let's just say Minnesota wins, and then Minnesota has to play OKC, and they beat the hell out of each other for like 6-7 games. Boston might just be fortunate that they might get a team that just, like, if Minnesota has to go through Denver and then OKC, they might be beat to hell by the time they even play Boston.
Boston's got maybe Indiana?
Exactly. So you got to think of it from that perspective too, but I would still bet Minnesota.
Yeah, and the thing about the Boston Celtics, as we talk NBA playoffs, is just like, I told you this during the break, they got no dog to me. Like, that is the complete antithesis of the New York Knicks. The Knicks are all about extra possessions. They got, they're playing Alec Burks, for crying out loud. They got no healthy bodies. Jalen Brunson's he's barely 6 feet.
I mean, it's going to come down to a talent thing with the Knicks. It's been a great story, and they might beat the Pacers. I just don't think they have enough talent to beat the Celtics. The Celtics are coming out of the East. There's no question in my mind.
You can't get beat by 24 by the Cleveland Cavaliers though at home. I'm just telling you, that makes you think like, whoa.
Yo, do you
64
remember
wins in the regular season?
Do you remember when the Warriors won the championship and they lost to Memphis by like 35 points?
No, good point.
In that playoff run. Sometimes it happens. Like, these are the playoffs. Every team is good. So it's not like you say you can't lose by 24 to Cleveland. Cleveland has a lot of talent. Like Donovan Mitchell and Garland and Mobley, like, they're good. Like, I never thought it was going to be a sweep. Did you?
I just, 24 at home, and Miami beat them at home. So I don't know. Sometimes I look at that team and I'm just like,
they do play with their food a little bit. I'll give you that.
And they're so reliant on the three, and they could score other ways, but they're not interested. And they don't have, like, if Tatum's your leader, there's some softness there that could be exploited, is all I'm saying.
I don't disagree. I don't think Boston is like a perfect team. I could see them winning a championship if these teams in the West beat the hell out of each other and they kind of limp into the finals, when I think Boston will have a relatively easy time beating Cleveland and New York or Indiana. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I still, but I'm just telling you, bang for the buck at that New York Knicks story is you just got to put down your Philly hatred and put your arms around it, brother.
All right, listen. So obviously we'll both be on these airwaves before Klay Thompson makes a decision. Obviously, but
July, right?
Yeah, but me and you might not be on the airwaves together. So I'll ask you, if this is our last time co-hosting with each other before free agency, you gotta bet right now, will Klay Thompson be a Warrior next year?
Yeah, I think he's coming back, but at a reduced price.
I do too. I think at the end of the day, both sides want each other. There's a lot of history, a lot of nostalgia, and I think that will prevail. The question is, at what cost? We'll see. A whole lot of dramatics will play out between now and then. But look, we're up against it, man. It's been a pleasure.
Always fun. Jason Dumas.
All right.
Well, are you getting into a run today? Are you playing?
Nah, I might go golf. It's so nice
look at you, man.
I might go golf. Look, that's all we got.
You sure you're from Philly? Golfing on a Saturday? Instead of playing hoops?
We got nice courts out there in Philadelphia. Marion, Philadelphia Country Club. Look, golf everywhere, man. I'm getting too old to all the basketball. That's too old.
All right,
look,
man.
Hey, Ken, our producer, we appreciate you, brother. Dan, of course, it's been a pleasure. That's all we have. 95.7 The Game. Jason Dumas, Dan Devone. Y'all have a good one. You were talking about some of the Florida wackos. He's one of them.
So, how's your research going?
Surprising. After I figured out the top-rated TVs in our price range, I went shopping for deals.
And who's the best?
It wasn't the internet, and it wasn't the warehouse club.
But?
It was video only. They had better deals on the Samsung, LG, and the Sony TVs that got the highest scores.
Better than online and at the club?
I know! Video only beat them all. And now we can afford an even better model for the same price. My research really paid off.
If we buy it video only.
Exactly. Otherwise, we'll be sorry.
At Video Only, you won't find huge stores with refrigerators or microwaves, but you will find the best deals on top-rated TVs, soundbars, and monitors. Shop around. Just make sure you visit Video Only, because if you don't,
you'll be sorry.
In Mountain View, San Mateo, Union City, Dublin, and San Rafael. Video Only.
I'm what you might call very good at hide and seek. This one time, my parents had to round up the whole neighborhood to track me down. It was a mess. A lot of tears. Well, now that we got Xfinity, we have Wi-Fi all over the house, including all my favorite super secret hiding spots. So I can kill time in here by streaming my shows and...
Ha! Found you.
The heck? How?
You left Find My tablet on.
This generation, ruining the game with their performance enhancers.
Get wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity for a reliable connection throughout your home. Now through June 21st, get gig speed internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and free Wi-Fi equipment included when you add unlimited mobile. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY